What's one goal you're working on right now? Something you've been wanting to achieve or to try, but you're just not quite there yet. You got it? Now here's a question. Do you believe, really believe that God can help you reach that goal? Well, it probably depends on what the goal is, right? If your goal is to get your crush to date you and they're really not into it, then no, God's probably not going to help you with that. Sorry. But if it's a goal that honors God or that God gave you, then yes, God can help you see it through. There's a guy in the Bible named Nehemiah who had a big goal, a God-sized goal. He knew he was following God's lead, so when he faced some big challenges, he didn't give up. Instead, he learned something we all need to hear when we're struggling to follow God's lead. God gives us strength to pursue God-sized goals. Pursuing God-sized goals, part 1. Squad up. In Nehemiah 3, we see a huge list of people who helped Nehemiah achieve his goal of rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem. You need people in your life. The very first thing that God said wasn't good in all of creation was for man to be alone. And the same holds true today. If you want to pursue God-sized goals, you need 3 types of people in your life. First, you need a Paul, someone who has been where you are and can speak wisdom into your life from down the road. Secondly, you need a Barnabas. You need somebody who's walking alongside of this crazy life right with you, and they're in the trenches with you and can understand your struggle right now. And third, you need a Timothy. You need somebody who's coming behind you, who is where you used to be, that you can help and train up and give them your wisdom of how you dealt with it. I know this might sound crazy to say to pour into somebody else, but honestly, one of the best ways to learn and to grow is to teach somebody else. Pursuing God-sized goals, part 2. Prepare for opposition. If you're working towards a goal, I want you to be 100% confident that at least one person will be working to make sure that you do not achieve that goal. In Nehemiah 4, we see that Nehemiah has some pretty powerful enemies, but he was ready for them. He had his squad by his side, he was constantly praying, and he never stopped being on the defense, no matter how close he got to reaching his goal. The closer you get to your goal, the harder the attacks against you are going to be. Building God's kingdom always means destroying someone else's kingdom, and they're not going to let it go easily. There's no taking a knee when it comes to pursuing God-sized goals. You can't get to the finish line and just say, let me just stop here because I think we've got this in the bag, because those enemy attacks are going to get harder and harder. Be ready for that opposition. Pursuing God-sized goals, part 3. Keep on moving. The difference between a moment and a movement is just 2 small letters, but those letters make all the difference. Just like in physics class, the V that separates a moment from a movement stands for velocity. Velocity is the act of continuing forward, but without that E, energy, velocity is eventually going to wear out. If you want to take the high point moments in your life and turn them into a movement, you need to keep on adding energy into the equation. In our physical world, we get energy from rest, a good diet, and exercise. And the same is true for our spiritual walk. We need to be still and allow God to be in control, to rest in Him. Jesus prayed, "Give us this day our daily bread." We need to be constantly filling ourselves with God's truth by reading the Bible. Finally, we get exercise in by doing what God's Word says. The more you do it, the stronger you'll get, and the stronger your movement becomes.